My studio is filled up with some great people, and they're going to be telling me about an amazing happening. It's a happening, I reckon. And it's happening over the weekend of the 10th and the 11th at the Rose Hill. Mehfil-e-Rose Hill. Mm-hmm. And joining me is Atiya Goulet, Mark Clayton, Tina Warnock, and Aparna Rahman. Is that correct?
Rahman.
And we're going to have a little chat about what's going on. It sounds like a really, really great event. And Atiya, you're going to tell us a little bit about Mehfil and the organisation, and then you tell us a little bit about the event and what our listener can expect.
Yeah, so the first thing I want to say is tell you what it's called. So it's called Mehfil-e-Rose Hill, and the word Mehfil comes from the Arabic Persian word, which is a lovely word and encompasses the idea of a gathering where music and poetry sometimes is performed for a small audience in an intimate setting. And that's exactly what we're going to do on the 10th and 11th of May, and bring you South Asian classical music artists, some of them who are here today with me, and an audience member who will talk to you about why you should come.
And explain to me a little bit about the actual organisation, Mehfil, because how did that come about?
Yeah, so the Mehfil Space, it's a community interest company, and I set it up with three of my really good Brighton friends last year, and it comes from the back of a conversation I had at our lovely community arts venue at the Rose Hill with Cassia and Jules, who run the place, and we were talking after a wonderful event they'd been having, which was a collaboration between a Palestinian oud player and a Ladino Jewish singer.
Right.
And I said, I'd love to bring South Asian classical music to Brighton, something I've always wanted to do. And she turned to me and said, well, why don't you do it here? So that's really important as a starting point, that the Rose Hill gave me that impetus then to go out and say, right, okay, I can bring a Mehfil. And I started speaking to my friends. Three of them said, set it up, and they're on my board. And we are now a community interest company, and we've had several events sold out at the Mehfil, at the Rose Hill already. And on the back of that, wonderful timing, because of Anushka Shankar being guest director of the Brighton Festival, it just seems like just the perfect year. So it's serendipity, but also the energy and the community in Brighton that has supported how we've all come together to do this, and it's working.
It's fabulous. Anushka, did she sort of hear about your company?
We sent an email quite a long time ago.
What was that sort of process like?
Well, we sent an email. I sent an email sort of around summertime to the Brighton Festival saying, I know Anushka Shankar is on is guest director, and we are doing this thing at the Rose Hill. Yeah. She might be interested. And then they waited. In a sense, I think they were trying to see what was happening at the Rose Hill, which was fab, and she wanted it as part of her programme. On the main programme, so it's not a fringe festival event, it's actually in the main programme.
Tremendous stuff. Mark, tabla player.
Hello, Mark. Thanks for having us on the show, and thanks Atiya for inviting me.
You're playing over that weekend?
I'm playing in the early the morning ragas slot on the Sunday morning.
Yeah.
With James Pusey on sitar.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're different sessions, are they?
James, Mark was one of the first. I think it was in the first of the Mehfil that we had in September.
I played in the very first one with two emerging artists.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, the space is beautiful. The sound is amazing.
It's a great venue. Yeah.
It's a lovely venue, and the guy who does the sound there, Abe, I think, does the sound there. He does a great job. And it's such an intimate space.
Yeah. Abe, if you're listening, he's in Cairo at the moment. Hello, Abe.
Yeah, we get a lot of listeners in Cairo. The Rose Hill does have... there's obviously been some issues with sound, travelling, so they've kind of really worked hard on the sound.
Yeah, the sound has been absolutely brilliant.
That's made it so...
Yeah, it's just... people, the audience of the last few of the 4 or 5 Mehfils that we had already have said the sound is brilliant, and some of it you're I think going to air to the listener here. But can I talk now about the programme? What's on?
Of course,
so, I mean, actually, so if you're listening, really, on the 10th and 11th of May, you've got a whole weekend of listening to South Asian classical music. We've got 6 performances and 2 workshops, and it's a whole range. We've got 30 artists. We've got artists who are doing from the north part of South Asia, from Carnatic, like Aparna, who's here with the violin, and we have a range of artists who are sort of earlier on in the career, and those who are newer. But really, for the audience, it's your chance to really connect with the music. And a friend of mine described about how it really allows you to get into that deep meditative state, which might sound quite scary, but we promise that you come in and it's such an intimate, lovely venue that you will be welcomed and you'll feel really relaxed. And whether you know South Asian classical music or not, you're going to have a fantastic experience.
So, Tina, you've been involved, you've listened. Earlier we were talking and you were saying about you've been to a few of these.
Yeah, I think I've been to every one, actually.
Yeah.
First I came just to support Atiya and out of curiosity, but I had such a great experience that I've been back every time.
And your involvement with music?
Well, I've been a music therapist for 25 years. I founded Beltree Music Therapy in Brighton.
Wow.
Yeah. So music's a big part of my life, and I've always loved Indian classical music, but this particular experience is new to me, to go to such deep, sort of lengthy improvisational performances. Yeah. So, I think what I wanted to put across was how you can engage on whatever level you want to, and if you're open and willing, then you can go into some really deep places for yourself, but in a very comfortable way. So, what I noticed was, to start with, I was listening for myself, really, and having a sort of quite a meditative experience, like you said. But because the musicians are responding to the mood in the room, and they're sort of getting feedback from the audience and adapting what they do accordingly, and they're very sensitive musicians, it really brings you all together. So by the end, it felt like we were all in this kind of shared conscious space together, which was really warm, really relaxed, and just kind of
feel.
Well, a bit, but very present and very calm, and sort of quite life-affirming, because everyone's from such different backgrounds, but ultimately we all want that same feeling of togetherness.
Excellent. Aparna, what's it like playing in one of these events for the musician?
I'd just like to start off by thanking you and Atiya for having me today. It's really lovely to be here.
Well, we're thanking you because you've come all the way down from London.
I mean, playing for Brighton Festival in itself is such a huge thing for me. I haven't been a part of the Mehfil organisation before, so it's really nice to be adding that as well to my musical journey. I mean, I'm still quite young. I'm only 19, so I've got so much to learn, so many things to explore. But each performance, each opportunity is sort of a blessing for me, I would say.
And how long have you been playing?
I've been playing since I was about 4 or 5 years old, so about 14 years now. I would say about only 4 or 5 in the past few years have been more professional and things like that.
And what are your sort of early influences of when you've been?
So I come from a very musical background. Both of my parents are classical musicians as well.
Really?
My father is also a violinist, Balu Raguraman, and my mother is a veena player, Shri Subhatra Raguraman. So yes, music has always been there growing up, whether that's a concert or students coming home. My parents are teachers as well, so I've also started to teach now, so I have students of my own.
Wow.
So I'm always involved in different opportunities, and it's really nice to be able to break sort of my academic side and come and do this for a change. And like Tina said, it is really a meditative experience for everyone. It kind of gives you a sense of peace that can't really explain in words. It's more like a feeling. Yeah.
Fabulous. We're going to hear some music, and then we're going to come back and talk a bit more. So this is great, isn't it? Don't you think this is great?
It's great.
You're listening to Slipstream Worldwide Beats on Radio Reverb 97.2 FM, radioreverb.com and DAB+. And don't forget, of course, you can get us online, and at a later stage this programme gets uploaded to Mixcloud. So we're going to hear some more music that you can expect on the night, this kind of feel. Stop what you're doing, dear listener, and just listen. Lovely stuff. So in the background you're listening to music that you will be hearing. I'm sure you're going to go along now, dear listener. What a shame to miss something this good. The Mehfil Space and Zero Classical at Mehfil-e-Rose Hill on the 10th and the 11th of May. And joining me in the studio we got some very, very interesting characters. Mark, Tina, Atiya and Aparna. So Mark, I'll just bring your mic up and then you can hear. Yep. Playing the tabla.
Yeah.
Is it an enjoyable vibe?
Is it enjoyable? Immensely enjoyable. Yeah, immensely so. I discovered tabla, I think, when I was a teenager. I don't know how I heard the music, but I heard it played somewhere.
Yeah.
And I had to find out how that sound was made, because I couldn't understand how drums could make that sound. It's such an incredible sound.
Yeah.
And there's so many different sounds you can make from just these two small drums. So I found a pair in a music shop in Denmark Street.
Right.
And I tried to play them, and I'd played other kinds of drums before in the past, but I couldn't get any sounds out of the drums. I would just try and use a conventional drum technique that you'd play. Maybe bongos or congas have a very simple way of in comparison.
And as a percussionist, you've played those before?
Well, I tried a few different forms of percussion when I was younger. Anyway, I decided that I was going to go to India and I wasn't going to come back until I could play them.
Wow.
So I thought 5 weeks would be enough time for that. But
did you go out there when you were like 12 or something?
I left it a bit too long, actually. I went out, I think I was 26 when I went the first time. Anyway, it soon became apparent that actually you need about 6 decades to get a decent handle on this instrument. So I'm halfway through my journey, maybe. Or maybe more, because I don't know how long I'll live. But it's an incredible instrument. There's so much to learn. It's so intricate. It's a very, I think, with a lot of Indian culture, there's a lot of complexity and subtlety. And it's such a beautiful instrument. And yes, I totally love playing it, and hopefully I always will.
Great. And Atiya, your background in music and emotion. I think you were telling me earlier you were a dancer at one point. Yeah,
so I suppose the same way as Aparna was talking about, it's really important of your family context. I mean, your parents are actually musicians and teachers. My dad, who's actually English, white English, he played the sitar. He travelled all over the world, so he was a United Nations bureaucrat, and we travelled all over. And so wherever we went, they would have basically mehfils in the home, where they would invite the artists of wherever they were in those countries. And I realised when I was in Brighton that I always wanted this, and I've been here now nearly 30 years. And it's taken me, 25, 30 years to realise basically you've got to just do it yourself. And but it's really important to talk about the collaborators, because you can't do it by yourself. So yes, I had it in me in terms of I did Kathak dance as a very young girl in Pakistan. Then I learned the sitar a bit, but I sort of dabbed, all these things were because we moved, so I kept leaving my teachers, and it is a loss. It's a real sort of pain that I feel that all those things that I started, I wasn't able to sort of carry through with the teacher. And I'm looking at Aparna and Mark are nodding, because that connection with your teacher is really important. However, what I'm doing now is I've started learning Drupad singing just for myself in Brighton with a woman who's from Germany. It's crazy, these things happen in Brighton, and I'm from Pakistan. I'm learning Drupad classical singing from a German woman. But coming back to the collaborators, Zero Classical is really important in making this mehfil happen, because I used to dance Kathak with Amina Khayyam, who's going to be one of the performers as well at the mehfil, many years ago in our early 20s. And working with her, being involved in her dance company on the board, connecting with other artists. There is an organisation called Zero Classical that's set up to support South Asian classical artists, and they have supported me bringing artists like Aparna, and also with funds at the start when we started the Rose Hill. So it's really important to say that if you're trying to set up something, I've got Tina next to me, Mark. Actually, we used to talk about classical music years ago, didn't we? And it's so wonderful. You're in the room now, and we've got our own mehfil in Brighton. The first time ever in Brighton. But also, I think in the sense of this small, intimate space, I know there are bigger things happening in the country, but not so sort of community-led, which is, I feel very proud about that, and how Brighton Festival has recognised that and, has put us in the main programme for that. So it does feel like a real sort of coming together of me and my family background, my travelling, my friends here, and also Brighton Festival supporting us, and the collaborators like Zero Classical saying, we're up for this, let's do it together. We've got a bunch of fantastic artists, and they also need, like you're saying, Aparna, they need space and safe spaces to perform.
Exactly.
And also the audience in Brighton is fantastic. I was nervous that will people shut up and be quiet and listen. You can hear, like Tina saying, a pin drop. People are so connected.
But at the same time, you feel free because you are able to get up and move around if you want to. That's made very clear.
Yes.
You don't need to feel you have to sit there very still.
Absolutely. It's not, it's not high art. Sorry, yes, that's a terrible thing to say, shut up and listen. I didn't mean that in that way. You can go, there's even the bars. You can go and have a drink, because that was a really important part of the mehfils in my parents' home. the uncles with their whiskies and the aunties too. So you can have a drink as long as it's all respectful, and it's fine. Upper and I maybe talk about that with when you're in spaces. There are children there sometimes, and it's okay.
Yeah, it's completely normal. I think when it comes to Carnatic music and the type of performances that I do, it's very traditional. We sort of sit down, there's no drinks or food or anything. I think people just come and devote their time just to listen to this music. So I think it's quite comforting as a performer as well to see people in their own comfortable space and move freely around and listen to the music in the way that they want to, which is so important to us as performers. It makes us more comfortable to perform as well, and less nervous and things like that. So it is really nice to be in a space like that to perform in as well.
And there was some singing
workshops. Oh yes, there are 2 workshops. One is called Rag and Tal. Rag is obviously about the melody, and ragas and tal, looking at Mark, is a rhythm. So it's basically giving you basics of South Asian classical music, what it is, how it functions. Ragas are to be played at different times of the day. I mean, of course, if you're a performer, normally you're performing in the evening. That's the wonderful thing about our mehfil as well, because we are going to have ragas performed. We're starting at 2 p.m. on Saturday, and we'll go until 2 a.m.
Wow.
And the next morning we come back at 9 a.m, so we're not going to get much sleep. So that the audience, you'll be able to hear the ragas performed at the appropriate time of day. So I'm really looking forward to the late night one and the morning one.
Could you explain how to book the workshops? Because I've looked and that wasn't very clear to me.
Well, the best thing to do is you go on the Brighton Festival website, and if you look under the What's On, there's a drop-down list, and you have to sort of scroll down a little bit, and there's a link for series. And if you click on the series, again, you scroll down a little bit, you'll see Mehfil-e-Rose Hill is one of the series, and you click on that. So basically, Brighton Festival, What's On, series, Mehfil-e-Rose Hill, and then that will show all the 8 events, which is 6 performances and 2 workshops.
And Tina, in music therapy, what sort of people would come to you?
Honestly, anybody. I worked for many years with children. I work more now with adults. I support people recovering from cancer treatment through voice work, music. I also work in the hospital, but lots of music therapists work with children with autism, learning disabilities, people with dementia. It goes across the lifespan. So really it's a responsive way of using our natural musicality, regardless of illness and disability. So we're all naturally musical, so it's kind of accessing that as part of who we are to function as healthy human beings.
And what sort of music were you listening to when you were sort of younger?
Well, I got really into singing, songwriting at university. I mean, I love Joni Mitchell. Atiya and I have that in common. And she's my absolute sort of icon.
Right.
But I also love classical piano. I grew up playing classical piano. I like writing songs that don't have too many complex chords. I tend to choose droney type foundations for my own singing, because I really enjoy that kind of repetitive stuff that gets deeper as you go. I think probably that's why I love this kind of Indian music so much.
Oh, nice, It'd be great to come back to Reverb another time and talk a bit more about
I'd
therapy.
love to do that, thank you.
Yeah, because we are, obviously a community station. This weekend, dear listener, we have our fundraising event called the Reverbathon. And you're welcome to listen, obviously, and make a small donation. Would be much appreciated. You can go on our website, radioreverb.com, and there's a donate button there. And there's lots of different things happening. Lots of live shows tomorrow on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, we'll be at the Hope and Ruin. And there'll be various DJs and people playing. And you can come along, say hello, drop a couple of coins in the box should you wish. or bring your credit card. I don't mind. But I just want to, Aparna, what's your kind of next? What's your sort of next stage? What are you kind of driving? What's your perhaps ambition, or where do you? I was going to say, where do you want to be in 5 years' time? It's not really that kind of show, but you know what I mean.
Honestly, I never saw me doing music as a full-time thing.
Right.
I'm starting med school in September, so that's a completely different route that I've decided to take. But I did take 2 years out of school to completely do music. I'm on my second gap year at the moment. I knew that if I was going down that route academically, I wouldn't be able to devote as much time as I would now. But these years have been great. I'm just taking it as it goes. I've been performing in India. I was part of Sounds of Isha, which is Sadhguru's organisation, and that was in Italy in October 2023. So it's really nice to get involved in so many different things that I don't even expect half the time. I try not to go in with any expectations or any high hopes, because I just like to take any opportunity that I get. I'm sort of just a bit free with my journey at the moment. But yeah, well, I'm excited to see how it goes.
Lovely. And what sort of stuff are you listening to?
Mostly Indian classical music. I actually love listening to more Hindustani than I do Carnatic. I've never admitted that openly.
Can you explain the difference? Because the listener will.
So there's lots of differences between Carnatic and Hindustani. I think the first thing, which is very obvious, is the instruments. In Carnatic, you'll have instruments such as the veena. Instead of the tabla, we have the mridangam, which is a double-ended drum.
And the Carnatic is southern part.
Yes, it's the southern part of India. Correct, exactly. And the composition structure varies as well. I think Hindustani is a bit more free-flowing. There's more room for improvisation, whereas Carnatic is very structured. You'll have different types of compositions, and in a concert-style structure, we usually present lots of different ragams, lots of different styles of compositions, whereas in Hindustani, you'll have maybe 2 or 3 ragams, and 2 or 3 types of compositions which they will elaborate so heavily, which is really nice to listen to sometimes. I think listening to both sides and both styles gives you a wider range of understanding that rag or understanding that tal as well. So yeah, I quite like listening to Hindustani really well. Yeah.
Interesting, yeah. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to go through the times again. And is there any? Do you have any? Anything else you'd like to?
I did mention the second workshop, which is on the Sunday, which is the vocal workshop. And since Tina's here, it reminded me. So that's the Sunday workshop. But we'll go through the events now.
Yeah. Okay. And you can book. Obviously, look, we mentioned via the Dome website,
by the Brighton Festival.
BrightonFestival.org. Go to the drop-down menu. I'll give out that information later. And the vocal workshops. Do you need any kind of? No.
Well, that's the thing. The facilitator Pratap Rao, who's actually also going to sing the day before perform. He's one of the teachers that is really teaching a lot of the Hindustani, the North South Asian classical vocal khayal style in London at the moment. And he can do all ranges. And I said to him, we've got 20 people, what if they're all different levels? He said, no problem, it's fine. I can actually pitch it really well. I'll do group work. So wherever you are, whether you've done a lot or you're completely new to it, you can participate.
Great stuff. So, do you want to give out the dates, or shall I?
We could do a
Saturday, the 10th of May, and 2 p.m, 6 p.m, 9 p.m, and 11 till 2 a.m.
Yes.
Wow.
Till 2 a.m.
And then on the Sunday?
We've got 9 a.m. with the Bansuri flute, waking you up, and the vocal workshop at 11. And then we've got the lunchtime with the Lost Ragas, which will be at 1:15. That will be great as well, because then whoever's staying on of the artist, we're going to invite everybody in and have an impromptu jam session of South Asian classical music. I don't know what that will be like, but let's try it. And there's a 2-for-1 offer as well. So again, look on the website.
Yeah. We like 2-for-1s.
Yeah, we like 2-for-1s.
Right. Okay. Well, Mark, Tina, Atiya, and Aparna, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Radio Reverb. Please donate.
So we're going to have something slightly different now. We're going to have some boss.